Performance and purpose are not the same. If you are chasing purpose and it turns into pure performance, you're not going to be happy. You're going to constantly feel like you're behind, that you're missing something, that you're not good enough. You're going to be falling into the trap of comparison. Performance and purpose are not the same. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was in my late 20s, I believe, I had been pursuing ministry and been in ministry for a really long time. And I remember thinking the first time I ever stepped into church, I saw the worship singers. It was like a contemporary church, non-denominational church. The singers, it was incredible. They were up there worshiping, and I knew right away that is where I'm supposed to be. When I was younger, I always wanted to sing. I pursued it for a little bit in mainstream, and then I stepped away. When I stepped into a church and saw beautiful people and music and a stage, I was drawn to that immediately. And then I spent many years wanting to use my gifts in this place. I wanted to speak. I wanted to sing. And it always felt like there was a lot of restriction around getting on a church's worship team. Like they'll put you in the choir because that's where like everybody can go, but you can't necessarily just get on the worship team. And I remember pursuing this. I wanted to pursue this. I wanted to show that I could do it. It was something that I wanted to do so badly. Then I started getting around women who were speaking, and they would be on the stage and they were telling great stories. And I know that I am a speaker. And so I was like, I want to do that. I want to pour my gifts out there. And I was in this environment where I was constantly being told that the Lord wanted me to use my gifts and pour them out. And then when I would try to go to my church, to the place where I wanted to be able to pour these gifts out, there was no opportunity. But then the next week or two, I would see somebody else on the worship team or somebody else that was doing some sort of speaking opportunity at the church. And I remember just thinking like, well, maybe it's just not my time yet. Maybe I need to grow more. And it threw me into this place of stop asking for permission and just go create what you know is in your heart to go share with the world and to serve others. I felt like it was my purpose. It was my dream. It was what I was called to. So I made an effort to connect with other people who were doing what I wanted to do. And in this particular case of the story I'm telling you, it was public speaking for Christian women events. So I connected with this woman. She's fantastic. She was speaking at an event. She was speaking at a lot of events. She had written a book. She was a speaker. And I just asked her, I reached out to her, didn't even know her. I just said, could I come alongside you and serve you in any way that I can, help you set up your booth for selling your books, help you with anything you need for your speaking events. I just want to be in a room with someone who's doing what I want to be doing and just serve you. She was fantastic. She said, come along. And so I got to hang out with her and go to a couple of events with her. Because I met her, I met other women who were also in that realm, but I couldn't quite get to them. Like I knew of them and people in similar circles. One day I got invited to a banquet. It was a charitable banquet, and a lot of these big speakers were going to be there, like not speaking, but actually just participating. They were going to be there at the banquet. And when I got there, I was assigned to a table with all of these big women known in the Christian community. It was like my dream. I'm like, I'm with the people that I want to be with. I'm going to be at the table with them. So I remember sitting down, and to my right, this is a round table, so to my right, kind of all the way around, I mean, one after the other. These are women that I have, like, I know it's not right in the Christian world, but idolized and be like, oh my gosh, these are like big speakers and writers, and they are it. Like I am at the cool table right now. And to the left of me, a woman and her husband sat down, and she did not look the part at all. She was meek and mild and she wasn't in like any sort of modern clothing. I don't even know that she had makeup on. And I remember looking to my left and seeing her and not really like thinking like that somebody doesn't fit at this table. And typical Christian conversation over here. So I look over at these other women and continue in the conversation with them, but I don't feel like I belong. And it's not that I don't feel like I belong because I wasn't good enough to be with them. Maybe I was thinking that. But as I'm telling the story in hindsight, I don't feel like that's what it was. I felt like they were not purposely letting me be in the fold with them. They all knew each other. They were telling these stories. I thought I was sitting in the presence of greatness. And they were telling these stories about how they've gone to speaking events and the hotel rooms were trash, or somebody didn't come pick them up in the right car, or they had to drive themselves, or somebody was trying to get them to come speak but not pay them anything. And I just remember the foundation of what they were saying felt really gross. It felt like it was like popping my bubble of, yeah, I wanted to be seen and heard and treated with like the royal treatment, but I also like really wanted to do good. I wanted to serve the people around me. I wanted somebody to be impacted by what I was going to pour out to them. And at one point I just lost interest in what they were talking about. It was just so gross and it was just not resonating with me at all. So I turned to my left to the woman that looks like she doesn't belong at the table. I just felt this draw to her. And I started asking her like what her name is and asking her who she knew there. And I just felt really drawn to her. And we wound up having the best conversation. She was by far the person with the most depth at the table, the person who saw the most clearly at the table. She was deep. She was rich and robust in everything that she was talking to me about. She shared with me how she served in the local hospital and things that she did at the animal shelter and how she finds like rescue dogs and animals and like gets them to safety and gets them back with families to be loved. There was all this other stuff that she was doing, and she was telling it in a way that she wasn't directly telling me that. She was telling me certain situations that were happening in her life at the time. So she wasn't bragging about it. She was the most beautiful person to this day, one of the most beautiful people I've ever met. And her name was Faith. At the very end of the conversation, because I didn't ask her at the beginning what her name was, I think I just turned to her and started talking. And towards the end of our conversation, the program was getting ready to start. I said, "Oh, what's your name?" I said, "I'm April. What's your name?" And she said, "My name is Faith." And I remember in that moment being like, whoa, I turned my head back this way, and these beautiful women that are doing the thing, that are doing exactly what I want to be doing. People are just like trying to get to the table to talk to them. There were so many people continuously walking over to our table to get in their presence and talk to them and hug them and just chat it up. And then I had Faith on the left side of me that nobody was talking to, even yours truly didn't even want to talk to her at first. And I realized that she was where my nervous system felt the most safe. I didn't know these terms back then because who knew what nervous system was back then? But I remember her, and I wanted to tell that story to you because it made me realize that there is a major difference between purpose and performance. And the performance side of it was not for me. I think that we can still perform and have purpose. Don't get me wrong there. But I will take purpose over performance any day. And so if you are struggling with showing up, creating content, letting yourself be seen and known, and you're struggling with a back and forth between, am I doing this for purpose or performance? Am I trying to push my way into certain circles so I can feel like I'm going to get something from these people? I think that you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I think you should put yourself in rooms with people that can help you grow. But I don't think you should overlook people like Faith, people who are actually the ones living in their purpose, the ones who are experiencing the most joy, the ones who have the deepest, most solid relationships, even if it's very few or maybe even one, or even just with themselves. That is who I would aspire to be more like, is Faith. So don't get so distracted by the glitter and the glitz and the performance. Stay rooted in purpose. Because that is what's going to make your soul feel most alive. That is what's going to make you feel most at home. And that is what's going to make you feel most fulfilled at the end of the day.